You're listening to the Keep It Real podcast with Zach Phelan, where we talk everything real estate, real business, and real life. My name is Zach Phelan, and I'm a real estate investor, realtor, entrepreneur, and family man. This podcast is brought to you by Home Scout. Home Scout shows you every home listed on the market in real time, meaning if a home you're looking at goes under contract with another buyer, you will see it in real time. You can track homes that have sold, save favorite homes, get notified when a home hits the market in a neighborhood you're watching, and so much more. The best thing about Home Scout is your information is 100% secure. The only people who can see your phone number and email is yours truly, Zach Phelan, and my lender, Jenna Groff. Most people don't know this, but other apps and platforms sell your information to at least 3 realtors and 7 lenders. That's 10 phone calls and multiple emails from 10 different people. Keep your information safe in our hands. We promise not to abuse it. Download the Home Scout app now. The link is below in the show notes, or email me and I will send you a direct link. If prompted for a VIP code, use my phone number 928-853-0683. Go download the Home Scout app now and start searching for that new home today.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today, Zach interviews his colleague and fellow mobile home park investor, Bryce Robertson. Bryce is a real estate investing entrepreneur, educator, and a large driving force behind the highly geared Property Works team. A native from Australia, Bryce has 20 years of experience in major construction, real estate, and business. Having traveled 50 plus countries over 6 continents in the greater search of wisdom and prosperity, and owning businesses in 5 countries over 3 continents, Bryce is a well-versed entrepreneur and highly equipped to accommodate your local, national, or international real estate investing needs. Bryce started his real estate investing career with a net worth of negative $50,000. Yes, that's negative $50,000. Unseasoned credit and only $2,000 in the bank. Now Bryce, a full-time investor, having raised millions of dollars in creating success via mobile home park investing, enjoys the fruits of financial freedom and has a passion to pass on education to those eager to learn. He does this by hosting a variety of educational events nationwide, providing home study courses, and is currently writing an anticipated best-selling book that inspires people to escape the rat race through the lucrative catalyst of real estate investing in the U.S. If you'd like more information on Bryce's live events, home study courses, and his upcoming best-selling book, 10,000 Miles to the American Dream, just check out our show notes. So without further ado, let's get into the interview.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to the channel, Keeping It Real. I'm here with Bryce Robertson, one of the guys that I talked to get started in the mobile home park world. He is doing big things right now. Super excited to have him on the podcast. And we're going to dive right on into it. So, Bryce, I know you have a really awesome story. Can you give the listeners a little bit of a background?
Yeah, sure. So born and bred in Australia, I actually left school a little early, and I knew I didn't want to spend time sitting in a classroom. I wanted to get out there and do something, but I didn't have the education or knowledge that real estate existed and you could become financially free and own your own businesses. So I thought I was making the best choice out of the options I had, and I got involved in blue collared working, actually steel fabricating and welding. And because I thought that was the best money that I could make as a blue collared worker. And as I did that, I became a journeyman, or a tradesman, as we call it in Australia, qualified. And I traveled through the gold mines. I worked underground. I worked in the coal mines. And then I saved up enough money in my early 20s to actually travel the world, because that was what I really wanted to do. So I started traveling the world, and I started off in London. I based myself there, and I would work for a few months, save up some cash, and I'd take off to Europe. And then I'd come back when my money ran out, and I'd take off to Africa. And I basically did that for about 3 years. And then I fast forward, I went over to Canada, and I did a very similar thing, but I based myself in Canada for a couple of years, did a lot of work, and then enjoyed the outdoor activities in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains. And then I took off down to Central and South America to surf and scuba dive for about 18 months. And as I actually did all of that, I thought I was a genius. I thought, I have cracked the code to life. This is the way to do it. And through that trip, I met my wife. And then, a little while later, I ended up coming to the States and living in the States. And when I got to the States, in the United States, I realized that what I wanted to do is I wanted to recreate that freedom lifestyle that I had created in the past, but this time do it without the money running out.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife and I explored all the different possibilities, ways that we could do it. And we looked into the stock market, foreign exchange, multi-level marketing, owning our own businesses and real estate. And it became very clear that at that time I'd had a 20-year experience in construction and construction management.
Yeah.
My wife had 12 years experience in mortgage and finance. It was very clear that we wanted to get involved in real estate. And so then we looked at all the different asset classes, and we looked at single family, multi-family, mobile home park, self-storage, notes, all of it. And after looking at the financials, it was very clear that I wanted to get involved in mobile home park investing. And I've basically scaled since then. And now full-time mobile home park investor, financially free through real estate, and helping other people recreate that through my education platform.
Yeah, I mean, and you're doing it right now. We're doing this call, and you're in Brazil, right?
Yeah. Currently, I'm in Brazil right now. That's right.
I love it. You're talking the talk, walking the walk right now. So, it's part of the dream, and people want to get into that. I kind of went down the same steps in real estate. I'm a traditional realtor. I started off in single family homes. I wanted to buy, I wanted to have 100 houses, and then I realized I don't know if I want to have 100 houses. And I took a look back, and I liked the notes and some tax properties and apartments and whatnot. And I came across the mobile home parks, and it just, you do the numbers and it starts to make more and more sense. And that's when I dove in, and I started learning and educating myself as much as possible, getting into these podcasts and reaching out to folks like you and having conversations. And then I started marketing for my first deal and got my first deal, and here I am 6 months later.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Taking action too. That's great. You're definitely taking massive action. I love that.
Yeah, we'll get into that massive action part. So tell some people, because there's a lot of folks out there who are considering, they ask me these investing questions and this and that. What really made you get into mobile home parks?
What really made me, like I said, comparing financials, I suppose the actual literal catalyst that got me into mobile home park investing was my mother-in-law owning a mobile home in a mobile home park in Southern California. Now, granted that those lot rents are a little bit more expensive than the average. She was telling me the story of how she bought her home 20 years ago and she paid off her home. And I thought, that's great. You own your home, you're a homeowner. Now you have no expenses, but just utilities. And she said, well, unfortunately not. I have to pay lot rent. And I didn't know, what's lot rent? Well, that's what you pay to the landlord for having your home on their land. And then they supply utilities to you. I said, okay, great. How much are you paying for lot rent? She said, oh, it was about $1,000. And I went, okay, so you're paying $1,000 to park your home here. And I ran out in front of a house. I looked around, and there was about 100 homes in that community. And that's $100,000 a month. I was just like, sign me up.
Yeah, I love it. That people don't quite understand it. We had an apartment or a apartment complex kind of bought out a mobile home park here in town, and they took out all the homes, and people were going bananas. And
Wow.
I kind of understand it, and that's part of the deal. We own land, and we own the the utilities and whatnot, and these homes are just parked on there, whether we own the homes or you own the homes. At some point you might have to leave, and some people just don't understand that lot rent.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so um, I get, and then back to the same thing. Whether people want to buy a single family home, an apartment complex, they want to get into commercial, whatever, they're trying to accomplish that first deal. Do you remember buying your first deal? For me, it was like yesterday, but do you remember your first deal and what that looked like?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody remembers their first deal. My first deal was significant to me. It was actually a really, really good lesson for many reasons. In the path of exploring real estate, I'd actually joined up on a mentorship training program that I think I paid like $30,000 for it. And getting a lot of real estate education and mentoring. And I found a mobile home park that I wanted. So I quickly called my mentor that I paid like $30,000 for, And he didn't answer. No answer. And I was like, this was a really good mobile home park deal. I only had like not long to put it on a contract. I wanted a little bit of help, and couldn't get hold of him. So I had to call the management of that mentorship program, and they finally got me hold of him. And I told him the story. I said, look, here's the deal. I've got $2,000 in the bank. I don't have. I've got a net worth of negative $50,000. I don't have a credit rating because it's not seasoned yet, but I want to buy this 40 space mobile home park. It's a cracking deal. It's absolutely amazing. It's going to be sensational. What do I do? And he basically turned around to me and he said, kiddo, you're dreaming. It's never going to happen. Why don't you just scale back from that and go out there and get yourself a single family home? So I pretty much hung up on that phone call. I called another investing friend of mine who said, what? Run me by those numbers again. You've got a 12 cap in California. Oh my God, you got to put that on a contract right now. Yeah. So I basically put it under contract, and then I just figured the rest out. That was my first step in figuring out, what's syndication all about? How do you syndicate a deal and raise capital? And, I put the deal together. 3 months later, I ended up closing on that mobile home park, and it's been very profitable since.
Good. That's awesome. You said a couple things in there that lights me up a little bit. Is first of all, you're paying for coaching at $30,000 a year or whatever you paid, and you were already, with the negative net worth of $50,000. People are scared to get outside their comfort zone. They're scared to pay $1,000 a month to do this, that, and the other. But you really need that coach and that mentor. And I did find one. I went to a boot camp and some other stuff and was reading, and I really found a guy who was up and starting on his coaching program, and me and him just jived. And he actually answered the phone I called. Go figure.
Yeah, that's important. That's important. And I also would recommend to people that you don't need to pay $30,000 for a mentor. You do need a mentor. You do need to get educated, but there's a million other ways to do it out there.
Yeah, but getting out there and getting that education is a big one. And then, like you said, putting it under contract. So many people are calling me going, hey, I think this is a deal. It looks like a deal, blah, blah, blah. Well, you have to get it under contract. You have to put in offers. And we'll get into the state of the mobile home park industry right now. But if you don't have a contract, you don't have a deal, if you don't have your escrow or earnest monies, then what are you doing here? My first one, I went out and, I put it under contract. I flew out there, met the owner, and he's does a lot of real estate, and he didn't want any tire kickers. And I know the same deal. I'm not a tire kicker. And, I kind of put my money where my mouth was, and I let my $10,000 go hard to show I was committed. And, I had met a couple partners at that point in time, and same deal. I wasn't sure how I was going to finance this thing, but I was going to make it work. And, we made it work. So taking that massive action that you talked about earlier is huge. You got to step out. You got to take huge action.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you took a calculated risk, and there's some calculated risks that you have to take, risk reward for sure.
Yeah. So part of the great part about doing these podcasts, I get to ask a couple questions that can help me out.
Oh, yeah.
But, I'm 6 months into my first one. Things are going good. We made a few mistakes here and there, and it's turning around, and it's looking nice. So now I'm in that question, like, okay, do I want to scale this? And you quickly scaled. You briefly mentioned it over there. So how did you go about scaling? How did you personally go about scaling? And then how do you help people scale?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. Scaling is really about looking at the business, looking at the critical parts of your business that you want to take care of, because you're probably getting to a point, or you will get to a point where you become too busy to be able to do everything. And to grow, you need to have time to grow. So you need to look at the parts of your business where it's not really the most valuable use of your time, and you want to outsource those things. I would always recommend to an investor that with a new asset class that they do the bookkeeping for the first couple of months, just so that they can understand the process. But after that, you want to outsource your bookkeeping. You even want to outsource things like lead generation, and get some assistance in people bringing deals, bird dogs, different methods of getting deals to you, using mailers and things like that, where you can get volume of calls coming in or emails coming in or people contacting you with deals. And then I also liked to use in the beginning uh, virtual assistants and interns. They're really, really great to help with analyzing deals, doing the first initial deal analysis to see if
Yeah.
deals are actually a yes or a no. Are they close? Can we negotiate on this one a little bit? There's a lot of really successful people that come out of university that are looking to get some boots on the ground experience, super switched on, super smart, and they're looking for someone to sort of give them a head start.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking for someone to do this in a sort of cost effective way as we're scaling. So interns can be really, really good for that, for analyzing deals. And then, in actual mobile home park operations, the more mobile home parks that you own, the more that you really have to sort of scale out mobile home park management. We always want to have an on-site manager, on-site maintenance, and then the more parks we get, we'll get like a regional manager, and managers will be watching managers. But really, scaling is all about having dividing this separate parts of our business, and then having really key players taking care of each part of those business, and then having great communication with your managers. And the communication coming from me will translate into them, will translate down to the other people. So it's really about finding good managers and managing good managers. And you might have to go for a few people to get that, but once you have a solid team with great communication and things jive, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so well, I'm on the virtual assistant part. I haven't thought about interns, but we may get there at one point. And I totally get, what you're talking about now. You have to start those. This is not a good use of my time. I got to let someone else do that. We're
Hmm.
coming to that now. So, me and my partner, we're looking at, now we're looking at, all right, let's find some 100+ space parks,
Yeah.
75
That's
space.
actually that's actually a really good point, and I'm glad you brought that up because, for listeners at home, if you don't know much about mobile home parks, it takes around about the same time to manage a 30 space park as it does to manage a 300 space park. It takes a little bit more, but generally, you still have all of your base business expenses and business tasks and people that you need to communicate with. And so to actually manage 100 space, 150, 300 space park is going to take relatively about same amount of time as a much smaller park. Yet you make 5-10 times more money. So,
Yeah, exactly. So a broker was kind enough to tell me that early on. He said, it doesn't matter if you buy 10 or 25 space or 100 space or 300, it's going to take the same amount of time and energy and effort from you. And
yeah,
so, yeah, this first one was 48. So I was like, let's get over 100. We finally got to our third manager, and she's been a rock star. She's a professional property manager. Um,
beautiful.
and, it's a night and day difference. We've got a good handyman in there, so we understand that. We've gone through a couple. We have a list of people we can call. We
Hmm.
have a couple good ones and one in there regularly. So I see where you're coming at from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it's time to jump up bigger, and part of it is going to find the money as well. So you're huge into syndication. What
Hmm.
kind of tips and advice would you give on that side of things?
Really, with syndication, for me, it's been more of a personal thing. I've done a lot of networking over the years, and in the beginning, I actually spent about 3 years flat out there networking, going to as many real estate investment groups that I could go to. I was going to a couple a week for about 3 years,
Oh
and just
wow.
meeting as many people, letting people know what I'm doing, giving people an examples of past deals I've done,
Hmm.
and what my business model is, and then just through naturally and organically meeting people, just built a crowd of investors looking to invest in those types of deals. Because as you and I know, what we do takes a lot of time and effort, and
Yeah.
and a lot of people are looking for the returns that we can create, but they don't necessarily have the time to do that. So it's kind of a win-win situation. We're scaling, we're growing, we need millions of dollars for more mobile home parks, and at the same time, there's a ton of investors out there that are looking to get, attractive returns, and you can really pump out attractive returns in mobile home parks. It's not unreasonable to be able to provide, doubling someone's money in 3 to 5 years through mobile home park investing, and all they have to do is invest passively. So that's very attractive to people wanting to invest in mobile home parks. So, really what you're doing right now, hosting a podcast, building a brand, getting the word out there, providing value, showing people that you're experienced, and educating people, and building relationships, and getting to know people, and earning trust. That's really how you can get a lot of capital raised, and join with other people to do deals. And that's really what syndication is all about. And then of course, when we syndicate, we do that with a syndication attorney, and we follow all the right rules and guidelines. And I've actually got a live event and a home study course that I have co-hosted with one of my colleagues that we do on syndication. If you want to learn more about that, but really it's a get yourself out there, and get people, let people know what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's part of the the mastermind behind this podcast, having proof of concept that you know what you're doing within a park. So now we're 6 months in, we'll hit our year in, like you'll feel like tomorrow, and we still got a profitable up and running park. Okay, I know what I'm doing here a little bit, and kind of getting out there in front of some more people. But the mobile home park community is very supportive. People will take calls, and once they realize you're actually playing and you're in the game, people are very helpful, whether it comes to owners or managers or brokers or just other investors. It's a nice community to be in, and
Absolutely.
everyone starts to know each other real fast,
Mm-hmm.
which is really
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely. It's wonderful like that.
Yeah. So now I did that up front. Like you said, you networked like a crazy person for 3 years, going to multiple events. That's huge, massive action. That's why you're sitting in Brazil today doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I did that early on with phone calls and emails. And where I live, there's not a whole lot of investor groups. There is some that I can go down to, and I have done that before in the past. But you call all those people, and they know calls coming from you every 2 weeks, and now they'll be able to call them all back and tell them what I've been doing, and then the deal flows will start coming that way again. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And so many investors actually try and do it the other way. They're like, hey, I've got a deal and I need to raise $500,000, or I need to raise $1 million, but I don't have anybody in my network. Now I've got to try and do that. And it's really hard to try and pull a deal together and try and raise capital, and attract investors at the same time. It's much easier if you've actually attracted the investors. And when the deal comes along, you just make a few phone calls, let people know what's going on, and then naturally, the people that are ready to invest in that deal just do.
and that's pretty much what happened on this first one. So back to scaling, I guess. Just doing it a whole bunch more is you come across those people who have done mobile home parks in the past, or they've done apartment complexes, or they understand real estate, and you get to know them a little bit, and they go, okay, well, call me when you have your deal.
Yeah,
And I'll help
absolutely.
you. And it's crazy. It's a fun. It's something nice to hear. You just call me when you got your deal. I'm in. I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I like you talked about returning people's money in 3 to 5 years in the mobile home park industry.
Mhm.
Right now, just the brief 2 years that I've been in this, I'm seeing a depression in the cap rates right now. So where are
Mhm.
you at with the market? What are you seeing? Where do you think things are going? Are there still deals out there?
Yeah, it's proceeding with a lot more caution these days. It was kind of like the wild wild west when I started, and it was really easy to get 12 caps, even 15 caps. Hardly anybody really knew about mobile home parks, and at the same time, there was also a little bit of a disadvantage because not many lenders were lending on mobile home parks as well. But there's seller financing options and things like that, some of which you know about.
Mm-hmm.
And but as time has progressed, lenders have learned more about mobile home parks, and seeing the track record of mobile home parks actually being the most reliable thing to lend on. And then different organizations like Fannie and Freddie have got programs for mobile home parks. Warren Buffett's involved in mobile homes and mobile home parks. I mean, there's a lot of traction, a lot of attention that's been brought to mobile home parks over the last 5 years. And now a lot of people from other asset classes, you know, multifamily, self-storage is starting to get involved in mobile home parks. And some of them who are used to buying, maybe a 7 cap or an 8 cap, are applying those same principles into mobile home parks where you can buy for 12 to 15 caps. And because of all of that, we've seen some of the cap rates dropping down and compressing a little bit. So, it used to be easy to buy at 15, 12, 9 caps, and now it's pretty challenging to get your hands on a 9 cap. I personally have a rule of thumb that I don't like to buy under a 9 cap unless I can get it to a 9 cap in the first 12 months, or unless there's some sort of offset, like absolutely ridiculous seller
Seller
financing,
financing.
3% interest only, something like that. So, but yeah, I mean, buyer beware, be cautious. I mean, sure, you could come from another asset class and look for like a 5, 6, or 7 cap. You can easily get that in mobile home parks all day long.
Hmm.
But you know, if you're bringing investors in on the deal and you want to double their money in 3 to 5 years, I personally think that you need to have about a 9 cap to pull that off. So cap rates are compressing. They're definitely getting a little bit tighter. There's still good deals out there. You can still get deals. You just have to sift through more.
Mm.
And also, with the economy shifting, things could shift with the economy and make that sort of correct itself a little bit too. So we don't really know what the future holds, but there's still good mobile home park deals out there. And anyone buying mobile home parks, it's only going to get more and more of an attractive asset as time goes on. So in the future, when cap rates really compress and we have a full-on consolidation in the mobile home park space, those who own mobile home parks will be positioned very, very well. So,
Yeah, uh, I hear you. To me, it kind of goes back to scaling. Like you gotta see a lot of deals. You gotta put a lot of offers in. You gotta have a
uh,
lot of contracts, deals under contract that you're reviewing to go through, and then you gotta make a smart decision when buying. You can't do 90% of the work and 95% of the work and just buy the deal because you think it's a deal. If it's not, you gotta walk away, and sometimes that's really hard for people to do.
yeah, I mean, you have to be willing to walk away. You have to be willing to lose your earnest money if that's a position you put yourself in, because look, it's going to be a lot better to lose 10 grand than to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars on the back end.
Mm.
And when we syndicate deals, not only are we responsible for ourselves, we're responsible for our investors as well. And
Yeah,
you just said it right then. Mobile home parks and any real estate for that matter, it's all about buying right up front. If you buy right up front, you evaluate all of the things that can potentially go wrong, and you've evaluated them, and you go, yep, we can handle that if that happens. And then when something does happen, if something happens, then there's no surprises. There shouldn't be any surprises at all, because you've done your correct due diligence up front.
absolutely. So I'm sure all this is in your A to Z course, and you mentioned it earlier. So tell listeners a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like you said, the mobile home park space, very friendly, a lot of people jumping on calls. And in the beginning, I had a lot of people calling me saying, hey, what's the deal with mobile home parks? And I found myself on sort of a 1 hour introductory call with so many people wanting to break into the mobile home park space. I was spending about 8 hours a week just sort of training people. And I thought, well, this is really cool. And I love helping people, but
Hmm.
I've got to be getting more deals too. So I started putting together a 1 day program, which was a bus tour, a tour to, one of my mobile home parks where you can, check out the mobile home parks operations, meet some tenants, meet the manager, learn a little bit about it. And that transformed into a 2 day event. And then my 2 day event transformed into a home study course. And in the 2 day event and home study course, it's called the A to Z of MHPs. It's everything you need to know about mobile home park investing. We cover, why mobile home parks, what to look for in a mobile home park in a market. We cover mobile homes. We cover purchase contracts, negotiations, due diligence, management, offsite management, even short-term renting in mobile homes, mobile home transportation, selling mobile home parks, like literally everything from the start to finish of mobile home park investing. And
Yeah.
that's now available in a home study course, because I was getting to the point where I just couldn't reach enough people at live events. So you can now study mobile home parks and have everything you need to know to get started from your own computer at home.
Yeah, and I think it's a fantastic deal. I mean, we'll put the links down in the show notes,
Mhm.
but man, it's a great deal. You cover everything in there, and you can do it at home from when you need to, and you cover everything A to Z.
Yeah, yeah, and I've even thrown in there, contracts and lots of different types of documents and things like that to help people get started. So
Fantastic, because that legal portion is a pain. Well, at least for me, it's a pain.
yeah, for sure.
Getting going in there. So, well, let me ask you a part about that A to Z. For our park now,
Hmm.
we need to bring in. We got 34 spaces, 34 trailers in there, or 33 trailers,
Hmm.
33, and we can get up to 48. We'll have to
Hmm.
do some remodeling because the old owner had 3 of them sitting sideways like this. But initially, we need to bring in 10 trailers. So, how do we? What's your best way to go to bring in 10 trailers?
10 trailers. Okay. Let's just talk real quick about the different ways that we can bring in mobile homes,
Yeah.
basically starting for almost nothing to the most expensive. First way, advertise in your local newspaper and on Craigslist, and have marketing signs out the front of your mobile home park that say we've got vacant lots and you can move your home in. Okay,
Okay.
that's basically the best way. That's called an organic move-in, when someone brings their own home into the mobile home community, and then they basically get set up in their homes there. That's the cheapest way to do it. It costs you basically hardly anything for advertising, maybe a couple $100 for a banner. But do many people do that? No, not many people do that. Why? Because there's a cost related with moving a mobile home into a mobile home community. Does it happen? Yes, but not very often. And we can't rely on filling all of those 10 lots that you need to fill organically, because you could be waiting 10 years. You don't have that time. The next way we can do it is have the same program, but bump it up a little bit by offering them something. We like to offer them that we will cover their transportation costs. What does that mean? That means that they bring their home in, they pay for the transporter to bring the home in, they get it set up with the skirting and utilities hooked up and signed off by the local inspector, and then at that point, once it's all signed off, we will reimburse them for their transportation costs of what it costs to move it in, and that could be anything from like $1,000 to $2,000.
Mhm.
Keep in mind, as we're progressing through the different ways here, the more that we take the responsibility ourselves of bringing the homes in, it's going to cost more than that. So it's actually cheaper to have someone to bring their home in and
Yeah.
reimburse them for transportation costs. The next thing is there's programs out there, and 21st Mortgage is probably the leader of these types of programs. I know that you and I have talked about that a little bit,
Hmm.
and where mobile home parks can get approved for the cash program with 21st Mortgage, where it originally started just with Clayton Homes, but now there's been so much momentum with it that you can pretty much get just about any brand of mobile home that they'll team up with, where you, the park owner, can go out and you get the 21st Mortgage pre-approval, and then you go out to the mobile home manufacturers, select the homes that you want to select in your market, and then you coordinate for them to get transported into your mobile home community. Then once you get transported into the mobile home community, you get it set up, tied down, signed off, then they can reimburse you for those costs. And on top of that, once you find a tenant, the tenant goes through the application process with the park and with 21st Mortgage, and then they get third-party financing with 21st Mortgage. So then that essentially means that the new tenant becomes a homeowner, the financing's with 21st Mortgage, but we get a lot rents every month.
Yep.
And that could, depending on if we do the straight up program like that, or there's also a sort of a rental option, as opposed to the financing option, where we have to absorb the transportation cost. It could either cost nothing, or a couple of $1,000s for us to bring homes in that way. And you can get brand new homes in for doing it that way.
Mhm.
The next way is to go out and get a used home. Maybe you get the home for free because someone will just want you to take it off the lot because it costs a little bit to transport. You remodel the home. Maybe you pay a couple of $1,000s for the home, but you don't want to pay too much for it. And it's either already remodeled or you remodel it yourself. And then you bring that in and you set it up and you get it tied down, and you get it ready to go, and then you advertise for it. And a home like that shouldn't cost you really much more than $15,000 after buying the home, remodeling it, transporting it, and everything like that. And then after that, you can go out there and buy new homes, and that can be more expensive. You can spend $30,000 $40,000 and upwards for a new home once it's bought and sitting down and skirting on and everything like that. Now you can fork that money up front and you can pay those tens of thousands of dollars for a home. But then once it's in there, there's companies like 21st Mortgage and other financing companies that will do the third party financing for you. So you might have to fork out a bit of money up front if you do take that route, but then you find the tenant and then you can actually coordinate for that tenant to get financing with 21st Mortgage. So it goes off your books onto their books.
Yeah.
You sort of recoup your money that way. But they're like the basic main ways that we bring mobile homes and mobile home communities.
Okay, good deal. Familiar with pretty much all of them, but it's good to rehear it and some of the stuff that I need to start doing. Craigslist is a good Facebook is huge for us for marketing. But we do get calls off of Craigslist, and we'll hang a banner out front just to start, because we have had one or two people call us and just say, "Hey, I see you got a couple empty lots. Can we bring them home in?" And so we'll start there and start moving up as we go. And we did talk about 21st Mortgage, so we're close on that. We just need to work out some finer details with them before we start bringing in homes.
Another one, while we're at it, is it's also good to be aware of other mobile home parks in your market, because sometimes, for some reason or another mobile home park in your market might be closing down, and you can really attract a lot of homes from other mobile home parks that are closing down. And there's 20 homes that need to move out. You may be able to get 5 of them to move into your park and cover their transportation costs. It's also good to reach out to mobile home transporters and mobile home dealers as well, because they're in the network of other people that could come to your community. But sorry.
Yeah, I need to get back into that. My first mentor told me the same thing. You got to be talking to those transporters. They'll find you a deal. They'll bring you deals. If you stay in front of them and stay on them, then you'll get it. You'll get a deal from them. So you're retelling me some things that I need to start doing, which is great. And all that's covered in your A to Z course too. So
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't be in this business without knowing some of that basic stuff. And then now I just have to go take the action. And we'll get to hammering on that real soon.
Beautiful. Yeah, I would advise for anybody, if you're going to get into something like this, you've got to get educated. You can't go in blindly. There's too much money to be left on the table. But if you do get educated, then you can save yourself the heartache and do it right straight from the start.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, thanks for the advice. I'm gonna get on it. I'll get your A to Z course, and then you got a new book coming out. Is that right?
Yes. Our new book is 10,000 Miles, The American Dream. It's actually a collaboration. I am co-author of the book. There's actually 8 of us. We're a group of Australians that each have our own individual story of growing up in Australia and then traveling the world to come to America to realize what an amazing opportunity exists here in the US, in US real estate. Not comparable to any other markets in the world. I mean, I've had businesses in 5 different countries, and I can tell you, the entry level to get into US real estate here is phenomenal compared to other countries. And when you've had experiences in other countries, like for example in Australia, to buy property in Australia, you have no choice but to put 20% down. That's the entry level. In America, we've got seller financing, 3% loans, 3.5% loans, 5% loans. There's all these different financing options, and there's an accumulation of reasons that we cover in the book. But all of us have come to the US and become financially free from US real estate, and we are big proponents of US real estate, and we're putting the word out there and just waking up some Americans saying, hey, it really is the land of opportunities. Here's why it's the land of opportunities, and we let you know how it compares to other countries and what an amazing opportunity exists here. And not only that, here's the methods of real estate that we actually think are most profitable in this day and age. And we basically digress on them and give some education there as well.
Gosh, I love it. That gets me excited. I got the chills just thinking about it. I tell people often, and I say it to my close friends and family, like, look, we're in America. You do what you want. You're holding yourself back if you're not financially free or on your way towards it. I'm on my way towards it, but I'm not there yet. So it's great to hear it. I can't wait to read the book when it comes out. When's it coming out?
The book will be coming out in May. Yeah, I don't have a specific date yet. We're still waiting to hear back from publishing, but
Okay.
it's coming out in May this
Okay,
year.
well, when it comes out, we'll put a link down in the show notes, and you send it to me and all that kind of stuff, and I'll promote it as well. I can't wait to read it either. So
Beautiful.
yeah, that's good. What about any live seminars? Do you have any seminars coming up or anything like that?
Currently, I'm traveling internationally right now, but once I'm back in the US, we'll definitely be doing a tour. So more of that will be up on my website. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me, you can reach me at bryce@realestatemates.com.
Right. All right. Well, I'll be on the email list, and I'll be looking forward to it. I want to come meet you in one of your syndication deals, or whatever you're going to put together. I want to get out there and see you guys at some point. So
Beautiful.
maybe a book signing. You guys gonna do any book signings?
Yes. We have our first book signing just after May. So yeah.
Good deal. Well, Bryce, thank you so much for covering, getting with me and diving into my park a little bit and taking the time to let me pick your brain. And I just got to tell everybody out there, like, you're phenomenal. You're doing it. You're walking the walk. You're talking the talk. Every time I talk to you, you followed up with an email. You followed up with a text message. You were on top of everything. Even setting this up, you're traveling right now, taking some time out for me. I really do appreciate it. I'm so grateful to be doing this and be able to interview you. And I'd like to end my podcast with, what are you truly grateful for today?
That's a great question and an important question too. I've got to say that, today I'm most grateful for having the opportunity to talk with you and for being able to, spread the word and inspire and hopefully get people to go out there and take action to create financial freedom for themselves, because, it's not just about real estate. It's about the life that we get to live through real estate. And having the opportunity to be able to pass that on to other people, to improve other people's lives, is truly a blessing. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm grateful for you for giving the opportunity to discuss this today.
Awesome, Bryce. Well, thank you so much. Can't wait to meet you one day. One of the deals, links to the show notes to the A to Z program. The book will be down there as well. And, I can't wait to do a deal with you as well.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thanks a lot.
All right, Bryce, you have a good one. Thank you so much.
You too.
Hey guys, I want to keep it real with you. Thank you guys for listening to this week's podcast. If you could do us a huge favor and write us a review, it really helps out the channel. Samantha and I really, really do appreciate it. So go ahead and write us a review. Thank you so much. If you know anyone that I should be talking to, please do send them our way. We really appreciate it. See you guys for next week's episode. Until then, keep it real.